Did you know that during the Cold War, the friendly skies weren't always just for passengers and mail? In the 1950s and 60s, the United States maintained airborne nuclear alert programs. This meant nuclear weapons were a part of daily logistics, constantly on the move to ensure readiness against a potential first strike. Mobility was seen as safety. But here's the unsettling part. These weapons weren't always on dedicated military transports. The line between civilian aviation and military logistics was surprisingly thin. Airframes based on passenger plane designs were common, and in several documented cases, nuclear weapons were loaded onto aircraft that followed standard civilian flight corridors. Sometimes these planes were flown by military crews, but other times, they were operated by contracted civilian carriers under military control. Imagine you're on a flight, and somewhere in the cargo hold, a nuclear weapon is sitting there. Passengers were never told. Even ground crews were often kept in the dark. Now, these weapons were technically unarmed. Multiple safety mechanisms were in place to prevent a nuclear detonation, but that didn't eliminate the risk entirely. The high explosive components were still active. An accident could have dispersed hazardous radioactive material over a wide area, and accidents did happen. One of the most famous incidents occurred in 1961 over North Carolina. A B-52 bomber broke apart in midair, dropping its 2 hydrogen bombs. One of them came terrifyingly close to detonating. Only a single, simple, low-voltage switch prevented a catastrophe that would have reshaped the American East Coast. While this wasn't a commercial airliner, it was flying over populated areas, using standard air routes, just like any other plane. There were also cases where military planes carrying nuclear payloads had to divert to civilian airports due to bad weather. They would land unexpectedly, with their sensitive cargo on board, while regular passenger jets taxied and took off nearby. Security was minimal by today's standards. In Europe, the situation was similar, with nuclear weapons being transported from mixed-use airfields that handled both civilian and military flights. Ground handling equipment, fuel trucks, and even catering vehicles operated in close proximity to nuclear cargo. So, why was this incredibly risky practice allowed? The answer lies in the intense fear of the Cold War. Strategic planners prioritized the survival of their nuclear arsenal above almost everything else. The idea was that by keeping the weapons dispersed and constantly moving, they would be less vulnerable to a surprise attack. In the face of what was seen as an existential threat, the risk to civilians was considered an acceptable price to pay. As air traffic grew, the dangers became impossible to ignore. Near misses, navigation errors, and mechanical failures exposed the deep flaws in this strategy. By the late 1960s, public and political pressure led to a change in policy. The airborne alert programs were scaled back, and transportation standards were tightened. Nuclear weapons were finally separated from civilian aviation infrastructure. Today, the rules are uncompromising. Modern doctrine strictly forbids nuclear weapons on or even near commercial aircraft. They require specialized crews, hardened facilities, and completely sealed logistics chains. This history isn't about pointing fingers at past recklessness. It's a lesson in how extreme strategic pressure can shrink safety margins to almost nothing. The system wasn't necessarily built on conspiracy, but on a desire to avoid public panic and maintain confidence in air travel. The stringent nuclear handling rules we have today aren't based on hypotheticals. They are written in the ink of past mistakes and near disaster. It's a stark reminder that the skies above us once carried silent, unimaginable risks, shaped by a very different era of global tension. Thanks for watching. If you found this piece of hidden history interesting, be sure to like this video and subscribe for more deep dives into the stories you were never told.